Hello again, and welcome to my first tutorial. It's a watercolor tutorial, and the focus is going to be the TARDIS from Doctor Who. I'm going to be going through and showing exactly how I did it step by step. This is the finished illustration. I used mainly watercolors, this particular pan with a round brush, and the round brush is really important because it gives a billowing cloud effect rather than a square or flat brush, which would not give you the same effect. Here I'm laying down this is the first base of colors. Lots of watered down pigment. I'm mainly using the tray to water down the pigments. You can kind of see it there. I'm starting with the lightest colors and going darker. I don't know, you can't really see it in the video, but I started with some yellows in the middle of that. And here's some blues. It's the lightest blue. We're going to go dark and then eventually to black and mix some purples in there. And the speed makes it a little bit hard to see, but right now I'm basically just doing wet on wet technique. I haven't started doing the dry technique yet, just to give it again the base color down before I start adding more details. Probably should have used a bigger brush for all this blue, but it ended up with the effect that I wanted. And there's some darker blue and now some black. That kind of made a focus point, like the clouds are circling just like the time vortex is. Here I've started with some wet on dry, but it's still mainly wet on wet. Here is more wet on dry. The way I go about making it fade from dark to light is wetting my brush and then patting it dry slightly so that the tip of the brush is dry but the base of it is still wet, and then I dip it in the pigment, in the watercolor, and that makes it transition from really dark to blending into what I've already got down. And that's how I do these effects here. And if it still doesn't blend as well, I rinse the brush and blend it more with water. If something isn't working, you'll find that I'm blending with water even more, because that's the best part about watercolors, is that they're erasable. I'm mainly adding all of these details in to make it appear as if the clouds are tunneling. That's what all this is for. You can see it really turning around and looking more like time vortex now. I've started adding a base watercolor to the TARDIS. I put all the details in with Copic markers later, and you'll see that, but the watercolors are still the base of the illustration. And I am waiting in between as it dries. I'm not doing all of this all at the same time. Here is my splatter technique. I probably overdo it a lot in some of my illustrations, but I love it. I apply wet paint and then I use a boba straw to splatter the paint across the paper. And that gives me my desired effect stuff right there. It doesn't really work right there. I'd add some more. But I love the splatter. Here I'm using the white paint to give the TARDIS its glow effect when it's in use. The pan I was using was a Sakura watercolor kit, and it comes with a white in it, a Chinese white. Just adding some more splatters. And now I'm adding details to the splatters. Just a splatter isn't good enough. It's got to look like the ink really fell on that page and splattered. So I add little dots and speckles and more splats, I guess you could call them. I don't know. Anyway, you can't really see it in the black real well, but when I start doing with the white up at the top, you can really see what I'm talking about. Yeah, see, here you go. See, and for this, I'm using the same round brush, but I've flattened it myself, so it gives more of a splatter look rather than round brush look. And here I've started with the Copic markers, adding the details in once everything is dried. I found that Copic markers go over watercolors so well, and I love combining the two. They give watercolors a fine detail that otherwise is hard to achieve, and watercolors cover larger portions of paper for way cheaper. The cost of watercolors is much cheaper than the cost of Copic ink, than Copic markers, but I just love how the two look together. I'm using various blues and a gray there, and just for the details. Here I'm just adding highlights with a Sakura white jelly roll gel pen. It's my go-to for all my highlights. Planning out my lightning here. I debated whether to put the lightning in the vortex because there's not technically lightning in the vortex until way later. I'm a 10th Doctor girl myself, so I really debated, but I thought that adding the lightning really made it look like the time vortex, so I decided to go ahead and keep it. And the way I'm doing that is just scribbling. It is seriously scribbling. It's not fine lines, and my hand is very jittery. As a matter of fact, I was purposely making my hand jittery just so it would look like lightning. And lightning is basically tree branches, but white, and it twists more than tree branches twist. But that's basically it. And it's done. Thanks for watching.